I think it is definitely going to have an effect because the costs are too high. We still don't have an absolute assessment of what the actual costs will be, but there will be an effect. But what is working well for the government is because last year we had a much larger primary surplus than was expected by the IMF. So that is going to work in favor for the government. But there will also be downsides because the expenditure is going to be huge. The impact on not just households, but public infrastructure has been large. So roads, others. It's not just about the cost, but the time taken to rebuild them will have an opportunity cost on many sectors, from tourism, transportation, many of the others. And revenue will also take a hit because most of these areas, the tax revenues will take some time to get to the previous levels. So that is one factor. So we could see a slight uptick in inflation. So that's going to be one thing. But moving away from the internal sector, the external, the current account will take a bit of a hit. So that is where we have to look out for, because large amounts of agricultural land have been devastated. So tourism will also take a hit, though not throughout the island, certain parts of the island. So, and the perception outside Sri Lanka is also that we have gone through a major flood, so it may take time for the brand image to be brought back to normal. So those are these things, but of course foreign aid will be coming, so of course we will be expecting that I will speak on. So bilateral, multilateral, that type of aid would be coming in, so there will be inflows. But overall our ability to keep the reserve targets would take a hit, because we are currently just about $6 billion. We should be around $7.3 billion by end of this year. Of course, the IMF and ADB funding would add another $700 million, like the central bank governor says. But with this, there may be an outflow of money, because a large number would be needed to import food, import investment goods, especially when it comes to reconstructing these areas. So there will definitely be an impact. The immediate relief, would be much lesser compared to what will come later, especially like in the next 2 to 3 years. The government has just said the cost would be even up to $7 billion US. That's a huge loss, because the estimated loss for 2016, according to the then finance minister, was $2 billion. But this is a much larger damage on a much larger scale. So $7 billion is a lot of money. So that's like almost 21 times the cost of the Colombo-Katunayake Expressway, or you can say twice the amount of the IMF program. And if I'm able to put it more simply, the debt we owe to China is just slightly less than $4.5 billion. So $7 billion just for this flood is almost 1.5 times more than the total debt we owe bilaterally to China. So that's the amount of damage. So of course, Sri Lanka being a resilient nation, of course we can come back on our feet. And as I've been always saying, we would not have the fiscal space to come back much, which will be impacted in the next year or two. But we can do that through some of the structural reforms. Even yesterday, the World Bank country manager was saying what Sri Lanka needs is trade reforms. And we need to increase our productivity, and it needs to have investments coming in. So on these three fronts, if we can do this, that will make our recovery much faster. I think a mix of all three, because when you look at, there will definitely be money coming through multilateral institutions, because they are also the World Bank, Asian Development Bank. They are very supportive of climate-related disasters. So on that front, we would be receiving help. We've already received a large number of help, especially with India coming in to help Sri Lanka first. So from bilaterals, we will be expecting aid to flow in the coming months. So those are areas. But even if you look at other countries, like most recently Pakistan and others, it was led by mostly multilateral aid came in, the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank, and also bilateral funding also came in. So I think there would definitely be help coming externally, and also we have to give credit to the government because they had a primary surplus beyond the IMF target, so that also can be used here. But at the same time, that was largely due to capital expenditure not being utilized, though that will have an impact on GDP growth, but at this time that will come in handy. Yes, definitely. So I have written about this and spoken about this before. So one of the things about the IMF program, the projections, is that it doesn't include external shocks like climate, geopolitics is another thing. So these are very important. If you look at Sri Lanka, we are a climate hotspot, meaning we are prone to disasters like this. Not just flooding, but periods where we have no rain, crops going bad. So those are effects that would come in to affect us. So if you look at the last flooding was in 2016. So if you're going to go by the trend, we could, God forbid, see another thing by the early 2030s. So most of our debt repayments are kept to 2038. So if we see something in the early 2030s and we are not projected for that, the current account and the fiscal balance may be balanced, but a hit can set us back. But for now, I think we are okay, because even according to the IMF program, we are we are set to issue our first bond in 2027. So right now we should be okay, but the impact is huge. According to the government authorities, just today it's $7 billion. That's huge, almost 7% of GDP. So that's an unprecedented hit for us. And it's not just climate, but we are living in a very volatile world. So I've spoken about this. It's not just climate, but also geopolitics comes in. For example, what caused the 2022 crisis? A lot of internal things, but also, the pandemic came in, the Russia-Ukraine war. So right now, while we are dealing with this, there is an external thing going on where, we are seeing a lot of aggressive comments by the US president against Venezuela. So there is a possibility of military action there. So Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. So that could see, if things go, we could see a rise in oil prices. So these are things that are not projected and could hit Sri Lanka. So I think if we are looking at our bilaterals and especially the multilaterals, the ADB, World Bank, IMF, they are all very supportive of climate action, and they want to help countries that are under this. So definitely the government should reach out to them. There needs to be some sort of a reassessment, because as far as climate disasters go, it is not the fault of the government or the people of the country. So this definitely needs to be taken into account, not just about coming out of this, but also climate adaptation, climate mitigation. Climate mitigation not just helps Sri Lanka, but helps the rest of the world. So these are things. So I think there needs to be a talk at the high level so that some of the targets may be reassessed.